I feel the biggest thing that anyone who's planning a baby should not.
The first step is always the hardest, and then after that it's like everything aligns. If you're clear in your vision and where you're going, everyone works. But to be able to do something that you truly love is a rare luxury.
I never even imagined I'm going to do this. I was in a corporate job. This was something that just happened by the way. I feel as parents, we have a huge responsibility, and this is a very big concern.
For you as a business owner or as a brand owner, is this community Sama? Like, is that the essence of Sama, the community, or is it more than that?
Sama community is one very important aspect. In fact, I always, my whole thought process from the time I started was we prepare a lot during pregnancy and then that's it. We just stop. We keep going and then we keep finding, array, he's hitting or she's doing this. Think why, read up about it. So then you'll be able to help your child. So there's a lot of introspection. Parenting is lifelong.
Today we have with us Seema Kazi Rangnekar. Founder of Sama Birthing and Beyond. She's a childbirth, lactation and parenting educator, and today we're going to get into the heads of anxious mamas and families and everything about the pregnancy process. Thank you, Seema, for being here.
Thank you, Akanksha, for having me here. It's my pleasure.
So let's start from the beginning. You said that Sama Birthing was born with your daughter Samara. That's when, the seed was incepted in your head. So talk us through that journey. What was going on and, what made you think of Sama Birthing?
So when I had Samara, I realized even though I had prepared myself really well, my husband and I had taken classes, we had gone and attended sessions, but when I delivered her in the hospital, I still felt there was such a lack of support. After even giving birth, I felt there was a lack of community. I remember going on speed dialing my very close friend Pia again and again, asking her, now what do I do, now what do I do. I felt there was such a big gap because when you give birth, it's usually nowadays so many years later than your mom, your mother or mother-in-law gave birth. So what information they have, the experience they had is all a blur in their mind. They don't even recollect most of it, and also not very relevant in terms of new research-based information. That was what kind of was the start. Not that I really thought I'm going to start Sama Birthing essay, but I think it was more because I wanted to be home with Samara and then later my son Samarveer. So, and wanted to do something different. I was in a corporate job, and fitness was something that I always was very passionate about. And the first thing that came to my mind was that I want to do something in the prenatal space because the fitness sessions that were there weren't many, very few, if at all. And that's how I started my journey of being a birth professional by becoming a fitness and nutrition educator. That was my first foray into this field. No plans, nothing. No this of making a brand or growing it to many years. I still remember my husband asking me, are you sure? What are you going to do with this? Of course, when I tell him now, he's saying, no, I never said that. I said, I'm supporting you, do what you But yeah, I just, my first thoughts were that I want to be home with my kids. I was in a corporate job, but I didn't want to leave them. I wanted to be there for them and simultaneously do something which would allow me to be there for them.
And then, apart from your husband, when you were describing this concept to people of prenatal fitness, did they understand where you're coming from? Was it what was their reaction? Like, were they like, "Oh yeah, this is really required," or they were like, "Okay, I don't get it."
Even till today.
Okay.
If anywhere I go and people ask me what do you do,
Yeah.
and I tell them I'm a pregnancy fitness educator, childbirth educator, lactation educator, parenting educator, and they're like, oh, Okay, that's interesting. What's that? So it's a very niche field. Of course, there's more awareness. Women today are very health conscious, want to exercise. They feel really bad. They can't work out the way they would. And there are not many trained pregnancy fitness trainers. People don't have the confidence to teach pregnancy fitness because you need to study it thoroughly. You need to be confident about teaching pregnant women. And from back when I started 14 years, this is my 15th year of teaching. I remember there were just one or two women who'd come to class, and it was fine because my priority at that time was my children.
Yeah.
तो मुझे इतना I wasn't like worried. ऐसे ठीक है. I felt good when I could teach them, and slowly it grew.
So, when you started summer birthing and actually just taking a step back from that, did you always have this inclination towards motherhood and children, or was it some instinct that developed after you became a mom yourself?
I always wanted to have children. I tell my daughter that I dreamt about you even before you were born. And I was very clear I wanted at least two kids. And fortunately, both my husband and I, we were keen on having children. Of course, he didn't want in the beginning. When we just got married, he kept saying, let's wait, let's wait. And then finally, I was like, no, now I want to have my child. So we went ahead. Yeah, motherhood was something I always wanted to be a mother, and even till today, they are my biggest blessings, both Samara and Samaruji.
And
I'm so grateful for them.
after having a niece of my own, like now I understand in a second hand way why parents are so obsessed with their kids. I am obsessed with my niece and hopefully someday my own kids.
Yes, of course.
When you were younger, did you imagine becoming an entrepreneur, or was it always going to be okay? I'll just do the corporate hustle, and entrepreneurship is something that's probably not for me.
I never even imagined I'm going to do this. I was in a corporate job, um, and this was something that just happened by the way. And then when I started Samabati, I was like, why did I wait for so long? Why I should have done this so much earlier? And personally tell all my mothers who come to me for in their pregnancy that they should think of uh, a work which allows them to be with the child, and at the same time they can work. I know it's not easy, but if there is any opportunity to do something where you are around your children, that is something you really nice, because I feel children need you. The phase is very short, they grow very quickly. So I'm glad that I took that plunge. It was a very big thing for me back then to leave my corporate job and start this get into this field where there was no sign of what I'm going to do. I just got into it. And I'm glad I did it, even though I never thought about entrepreneurship. In fact, I learned a lot much later. Like I had applied for a women's entrepreneur program at IIM Bangalore as part of they have a Goldman Sachs has a program for women, and I'm glad I got selected and I went there, and that was my first tryst with understanding how to run a business, what are the aspects of it. All those years, I just did what instinctively I felt. I wasn't working on any plan or any strategy. So, yeah, it just happened accidentally. I was not having any thoughts of being an entrepreneur.
And then once you began that journey, like well into it, did you still have thoughts of self doubt of like, what am I doing? Maybe I should go back to my job. How certain were you of the path ahead?
Oh no, I was enjoying it. I had no regrets. In fact, I told you, right? I was thinking I should have done it much before.
True.
Why did I wait for so many
Yeah.
years? And I keep giving this advice to all women. If you
Yeah.
have some passion, just go for it. Don't even wait, don't think. At the most, you won't succeed, and then you can go back to whatever you want to go back to. So I have no regrets. In fact, every step became clearer after each year. When I taught the fitness class, then I realized they had so many questions about their pregnancy, about early parenting. So then I went and did the next course. I became a childbirth educator. Then I started educating them about different aspects of pregnancy, parenting, early parenting. Then after doing that, I realized there are so many questions about breastfeeding. So I became a lactation educator. So it just was so organic and so gradual. There was never really a plan as such. It just, I should thank the mothers, and I do still. I am whatever I am today because of the mothers, the families who have come to me, who I have supported. So, yeah, it was a very organic growth.
The first step is always the hardest, and then after that it's like everything aligns if you're clear in your vision and where you're going.
Yeah.
So congratulations on
Thank
such
you.
a fulfilling journey.
Yeah.
Everyone works, but to be able to do something that you truly love is
Yeah.
is a rare luxury.
Yeah, absolutely. And the messages that I get, I have tears in my eyes every time. I feel so grateful because I could support somebody, some of the mothers, families. It's really very fulfilling.
So, cut to today, what does a typical day of yours look like?
So my day starts with I'll believe in taking care of myself. So I spend time for exercising. I have a good breakfast. Then I come. I teach a class on most mornings. And then I have my whole day. There are lactation consults. There are. Then planning how to go about that week, the events that we are planned for the weekend, workshops. So that all that happens. Then sometimes I teach a class in the evening also, and I'm also attached to Nanavati Hospital as a lactation. Sometimes I need to go there or to my mama's homes, who are new mothers. So it's a mix of all kinds of things. Every day is different, but yeah, I love it. I won't have it any other way.
And so now you've been at it for around 10-15 years now. It's been a significant amount of time. Do you think that parents now are more anxious than they were back when you started?
I feel more than that the I would put it on the amount of information that's out there. There's a lot of information, and that overwhelms parents today. It also confuses them. They also feel left out if they may have not done enough. So yeah, I feel that it does cause anxiety and overwhelm in parents because they feel that they have missed out on doing X, Y, Z. So yeah, for sure.
And in your experience, what is the biggest information gap with new parents that it's something too basic but they still don't know about it enough?
I feel the biggest thing that anyone who's planning a baby should not wait to get pregnant and then start. I feel there is a need that they assess their life before they have the baby. Uh, they should be really sure physically, emotionally, mentally, and not just the mother to be, but both partners. Because earlier, when I was little, my father had no clue. My mom did everything for us.
Yeah.
But today, it's not like that. Today, the mother expects her partner to be on the same page. So I feel that this is a conversation which should be done before having the child. So I think this is still not happening enough.
And do you think couples now are more emotionally ready than they were back in the day?
Little bit, yeah, much better than what it was. Like my mom always says, you're so lucky. You are not doing it alone. Your partners with you and you'll discuss. Your dad didn't have any clue. So yeah, it's definitely different, but also not totally. We are not yet there.
But given that there's so many unfortunately trends that come and go even in the birthing space, that like something people are trying, or something, some new parenting hack, or there are these fads that come and go. But in your experience, what are the non-negotiables in terms of preparing for a child, that first time parents need to be equipped with these foundational skills or equipment or anything, just
Uh, so I always tell my expecting parents, or I also offer a program called Beej Sanskar, which is preparing for your getting pregnant before even having the baby. You need to prepare. So there are these 5 summer birthing pillars which I always talk about. One is the physical readiness. So the mother to be, or the woman who's planning, she should assess her health. First is that. Then secondly, she should be aware of her fertility and reproductive or history. If there is something, she should address that and go from that, prepare physically in that sense to understand the ovulation cycle, and if it's not happening, then reach out for help and not just struggle. The third is the emotional part of it. It's really a big shift. You have to take care of the baby, your career, everything else goes for a back seat. So the woman has to understand that this is going to happen. Many women struggle after the child is born because they feel that they had to take the back seat. So there has to be this conversation about it. Fourth is the partner support. You can't do this alone. So you and the partner have to sit and discuss all this even before they have the child. Who's going to do what? The financial part of it, it's very expensive today to have children.
Yeah.
So, these are real conversations. Just you want to have a child, it's okay, everyone can have a child. But to be able to be good parents, to raise healthy, good human beings physically, mentally, is a responsibility. And most important, also, one of the very big aspects is the community. Community is your support you have, the groups you're going to, friends or family or any group that you can depend on. All this together will help you, plan and be good parents, good, have a good pregnancy.
when you are a first time parent, you're really thrown in the deep end, and there's so many terms that are coming at you, and you have no idea what people are talking about, whether it's colic hour or sleep cycle or sleeping anxiety. So, going into the process, what do you think are the most common newborn challenges that a new parent should mentally equip themselves for?
My advice to parents is to prepare when they are pregnant. I always say you have 9 months. It's not just for like that, it's to prepare.
Yeah.
So, read a lot, attend a newborn care session or pregnancy sessions, workshops, because it helps you to understand what's coming your way. I always say, like, when you are going to study abroad, for example, or study in another city, you're going to prepare, right? You will not just go there. You'll do some research, find out where to go, what to do. You're getting married, you'll prepare. So, why aren't you preparing for such a big chapter of your life? If mostly, uh, expecting parents go from a point that my family will help, or sister, mother. I don't mean to say that they won't, but it's good to be prepared for yourself. You should read. The reading will help you understand, and you won't be overwhelmed. Because what happens is a new parents come home with the baby and the baby cries and everyone panics and everyone's scared. Oh, she's crying, he's crying. And the first thing they'll instinctively think is give formula or give milk. But there are so many other factors. The simplest thing is maybe the child just wants to be held. The child has been inside the womb for 9 months, stuck to you. Suddenly, you cannot expect the child to be happy or fine on his or her own. So, the child maybe needs to be held. The child may have gas or colic. So, you should be prepared. You should know that this is what is normal for newborn babies. And when you come from a place of education, you are able to manage far better than just Googling and trying to figure it out. Of course, there is no manual for parenting. It's a very instinctive process.
Yeah.
But some amount of research, reading, joining some sessions will make you a little bit more prepared and also empower yourself. You don't have to be dependent on anybody. You have to go from a place that, oh yeah, I remember this is normal. Oh, okay, I know I need to try leg cycling, I need to do tummy massage, I need to do skin to skin. So when you have your bag of tools because you've read it or you've attended a class, you are able to use them. So it's a lot of trial and error, of course. And then I think the first thing I also tell is just please keep your phone away. Yeah, because it can really confuse and cause more overwhelm.
Yeah, yeah. That actually brings me to my next question. We spoke about one end of the spectrum, which is people who are not prepared, but then there's the other end of the spectrum, which is people who are over prepared and just inundated with information. So if you had to reduce their anxiety, like by even just a little bit, what would your advice to them be, the people who have just like soaking up information left, right, center?
I would just tell one thing for new parents is go slow. It's a new baby, you're new parents. Every minute is new. I won't even say every day because you'll realize, oh, this worked. And then you'll be like, okay, let me do this next time. And then it won't work. So it's normal. So you just have to I always say the breathing that I'm making all do in the exercise class is not just for now or labor birthing, it's for rest of your life. Yeah, like I have teenagers now, I'm taking deep breaths every day. So yeah, my advice to new parents would be go step by step. Every time something will work, something won't work. It's okay. We always work like that, we should not get also I think parents are very hard on themselves, especially mothers. They feel very guilty. So I don't want you, like as a new mother, to do that to yourself. Always also remember that your energy is your child's energy. So if you are calm, your child will be calm. But if you're worried, anxious all the time, the child also will be fussy because the child is not able to understand what's happening. So yeah, go slow, take one step at a time.
You mentioned that you have clients the world over, from like Japan to Africa to US, and but in my very rudimentary analysis of things, I feel like in India the landscape is a little bit different because we have to balance the traditional values and the traditional nuskes as
Yeah,
opposed
yeah.
to the modern science backed evidence based research. So how does one navigate that? Like, what's the perfect
Yeah,
balance?
yeah, this is a question which I get asked a lot. Like, do I need to eat all those laddus? Do I need to eat so much ghee? So my answer is, you assess it. I know that all the gharelu nuska, I am all for it, but they may not suit everybody. Just like everything else, like food wise also, how we are all different. Some food suit us, some food don't suit us. So the same approach I tell my new mothers, you try it because they are meant for your well-being. If you can't have like the whole laddu or whatever else, try a little bit and see how it's working. And like some of the mamas, they have like heat boils or they react to it, then I tell them, then you obviously don't do it because then it's not agreeing with your body. So that's like, take the middle approach. Don't just rubbish it, and don't just keep having it, especially if you're not able to digest it and if you're suffering. So figure it out, try and do some stuff, and which you feel that you just can't do it, it's fine. You have to explain to your family why you're not able to, eat it. It's causing discomfort. And I think that's how we should go about it.
It's also so much of what you said to me. It's also about being mindful that, okay, when I'm eating this, this is the reaction that's happening. And as opposed to maybe when I'm taking this medicine or this supplement, this seems to be the effect. So, it just seems like you have to be very, very mindful through the entire pregnancy process and just be very careful.
Yeah, I feel like now most women are very in tune with their bodies, the way they function. The women who come to me are very health conscious, they are mindful of their diet. Of course, many pregnant women also just feel happy being pregnant and they eat everything and there's no control. Also, there are some mamas who do that. But uh, always, analyzing what's working, what's not working is the best approach, because honestly, every mother is different. In fact, one mother and two pregnancies are also different. So it will depend on, what's working, what's not working. And I even ask the expecting mothers and new mothers to keep a diary so that they know, okay, this caused this reaction, or the day I had this, my baby had this. So you know what to avoid and go from that space.
And do you think that this journal is something they should use as a tool for the first 3 years of the baby's development? Because
Yeah,
those first
why
three.
not? Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. It also helps you to understand if your baby has some allergies or, food related some issues are there. It's a great way to uh, keep a check what's working, what's not working. Also, if you are eating a balanced diet, how often are you not eating enough, or the baby, these are different ways to help achieve like balanced meal or balanced lifestyle.
And in general, why are the first 3 years of a baby so critical? There's so much research around
Yeah.
it, but it would be great to hear from an expert.
So the journey starts from preconception. Whatever reserves the mother has is going to help the baby form the baby. The second step in this is the pregnancy, and then the third step is the breastfeeding journey, and the fourth step is when the child starts eating solids or the first foods. So this comprises the first 1,000 days of a human baby's life, and every step is important. Every single step is important. So that's why the journey starts not when you are pregnant, when you are planning for a baby. And that's why I also emphasize that the mother should assess her body, her habits, and this is a good time to start. Having said that, doesn't mean that, oh, you're late. Maybe you realized it in pregnancy, maybe you realized it during lactation, or even later after you started solids. There's always a chance to start from then. Basically, being mindful, the kind of food is should be medicine. We should not be going to a doctor. We should work with our food because that will help us build ourselves. So I call this the foundation. Like when you are constructing a house, you just don't go on constructing. You first build the foundation, and this is the foundation of a baby for his or her adulthood.
Yeah.
So if you spend some time in being mindful, your child will grow up to have good immunity, lesser chances of any lifestyle diseases like blood pressure, heart disease, better chances of not falling sick so often when they go to school. So that's why it takes little bit of planning. It's not so hard, honestly. A little bit of planning, and you're setting up your child for his future. And also, the maternal nutrition is so important. It's not just for the baby, it's for the mother, and for 5 more generations after that. That's how impactful mother's nutrition is. So whatever we are is because of our great 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 grandmother.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, but having said that, I don't want to put any pressure on a
Yeah.
person. It's just to be a little mindful.
And in today's context, we have this additional challenge, so to say, of screen time. And,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, so what is your philosophy? Where does that come into your foundations? Like, how much of it is required? How much of it can be avoided? What is it that you recommend your mothers? Because I'm sure that these questions are coming to you very often.
Yeah, so I feel as parents we have a huge responsibility, and this is a very big concern, the amount of exposure to gadgets. My advice is to not give gadgets as long as possible. It's highly addictive. As adults, we don't have control.
Yeah.
These children are so little, they don't even have the ability to understand the impact on their brains. So, as parents, we have a very big responsibility. It doesn't matter. You could be living in this age where all children have phones, gadgets, but delay it as much as you can. It's only going to take away their imagination, their creativity, because it'll all be dictated by what they are watching. So ideally, children should not be given any gadget till they are at least 6 years.
It's
They don't miss out on
yeah,
anything.
yeah,
The best thing parents can do is the gift of reading books. Books should be what should be the child's companion. Wherever the child goes, he or she should have books, because that helps them to uh, be more imaginative, more creative. uh, they visualize it, the what they are reading or what they are being read
yeah.
to, as opposed to gadgets where the gadget is throwing the images and there's no thinking happening. So yeah, my advice to parents is to try and not give gadgets as much as possible, even if it means whatever people around them are saying. Read up about it.
It's such a modern problem, so people are still all over the place about it. But definitely, something as simple as a book can be your friend. So
Yeah,
why not?
yeah,
There's no harm, literally no
yeah,
harm that can happen.
yeah. We have to look and think about it. What is it that we are doing? Why are we doing it?
Yeah.
What is the purpose? I always also give an example of a seed. You need to nurture it, though, to make it grow. There has to be just enough amount of water, sunlight, good soil. So your baby is a chotu seed. And what are you going to do with that seed? How are you nurturing your baby?
Yeah.
So I want parents to, it's very hard. It's not easy parenting in today's times.
Yeah.
There's always few steps forward and a few steps back. So it's okay. Every day is another chance, I tell them. Start again. It's fine. You introspect, think what is it, how, observe your child. Even one more thing I tell parents is you read, because children will always learn from imitation. So when you read, your child will also want to do it. And you read about the child's development at every age. We prepare a lot during pregnancy and then that's it. We just stop. We keep going and then we keep finding, array, he's hitting or she's doing this. Think why, read up about it. So then you'll be able to help your child. So there's a lot of introspection. Parenting is lifelong. So we need to work on ourselves also along with our children.
So, I know from first-hand experiences that the communities that you build around Sama birthing are very long-lasting. For example, my sister, still consults with her fellow mothers who she met at your class, and they exchange, everything from like nanny communities to tips on,
Kids'
okay,
behavior,
yeah.
classes, yeah.
Was that intentional? Like, did you start with that intention?
Yes, so when I started summer birthing, I realized that it will be nice to have a community and to go back to ask questions. Also, it was my way of hand holding because I remember when I had Samara, I was so lost, and that stayed with me, and that's why I intentionally. So we have a Sama community every year. So as soon as someone signs up for a package, is gets added to that community. It's a closed group. It's moderated by me. I check and see all the discussion that's happening. If I feel there's any need for my intervention to give correct evidence based information, that's when I step in. And of course the mothers in the community also, they bring their own energy by sharing whatever they have, knowledge they've gathered. So that was intentional, purely to handhold, and the questions are the same. Even though it's 14 years, they are the same questions because how different can it be?
Right.
It's you're having a baby.
Yeah.
The amount of things you need are only going to be so much. Only few gadgets here and there, which anyway I tell my families, don't spend so much money. Be mindful. Whatever we need can be ordered immediately. We are not living in a village, so
Yeah.
don't go overboard. But yeah, the community is a big aspect of summer birthing. Uh, it's to support women, to support families. In fact, I find it really sweet. The fathers say that just ask on Sama community and see what they are saying. So I feel so good that what my goal was has been achieved. And I know there are so many small groups that have been formed because they met in the class and then they are still going for holidays together, their children gel. So it's the best feeling. I feel so happy even when I watch their stories and I see them, they're still in touch and they're doing things together. That was my dream and I have achieved it.
And do these parents usually come from nuclear families? Is it a very modern problem of like not having community, or is it, that more you have more parents from nuclear versus joint families? What's the breakup like?
It's irrespective because the thing is, when you have your baby, not necessarily someone in your friend circle or family is having a baby. So you may be just the first one after very long. So then the relevance of the community becomes even more because here everyone is in the same space. Many times there are second time moms, so they kind of handhold and guide the new mothers. So it's just amazing how the community functions.
So, for you as a business owner and as a brand owner, is this community Sama? Like, is that the essence of Sama, the community, or is it more than that?
Sama community is one very important aspect. In fact, I always, my whole thought process from the time I started was where we come together, we handhold. I also have a Relove community called the Sama Relove, where it's my small way of, uh, you know, bringing in consciousness about the environment because the shelf life of these products that we use for maternity for babies is very small, and I encourage parents, if they don't want to buy first hand and just take these gently used pre-loved products, you'll be doing a big this for the environment and for your children because that's the planet we're leaving behind for them. So if we have that kind of a thinking process, it will help. So yeah, the Sama community is a very big part of Sama birthing, and the whole this of hand holding, supporting each other, guiding each other is what I truly believe in.
And then going forward, do you see yourself expanding into newer communities, such as, for example, nowadays women are navigating late pregnancies, or, the question of should I freeze my eggs or should I not freeze my eggs? So, do you see yourself getting into that space as well?
We
Or,
already have.
okay.
I have moms who have surrogate babies. I have uh, moms who have donor eggs, donor sperm, single moms. We already are supporting different women, and I totally respect it. And because we live in a the times that we live in, women want to work, and I think it's your personal choice. If you are intending, maybe you want to have a baby, please go ahead and freeze your eggs, because if that's what you want to do later. So yeah, at Samabhating we do support all this already. We have different mamas from different thought processes, which is totally fine.
And if you were to now think in terms of long term growth for Sama, what would that entail? What do you see maybe coming up with more centers or going, in other cities? What's on your bucket list of growth?
So, very sweetly, I have lots of messages and calls from mamas in other cities, or even in South Bombay, for example, because I'm based in Juhu in North Bombay.
Yeah.
I get messages and calls like, can you just start something this side? Can you come to Calcutta? Can you come to Indore? I have a place. Why don't you just come and open a center here? So, yeah, maybe someday we'll look into it and try and do something, grow very slowly, very organically, because uh, honestly I never looked at it as a business or a brand. I, I told you I didn't have a single bone of entrepreneurship, I feel, in my body. But yeah, maybe if things align, and I'm very passionate about what I'm doing, and it should not get diluted. The whole, the values of giving good in evidence-based information, uh, the genuine support that we want to give mothers, families, that is something that I am very clear should not get diluted at any point. So even when I want people who work with us at Samabhating should feel the same way, because it's not work or a business. It is, you're working with women, you're working with emotions. So you need to come from that. Being a birth professional is, you have to be really loving it. You have to be passionate about it. And of course, money does matter, but this is the first prerequisite to become a birth professional. So I teach the course in India for others who want to become childbirth educators or a pregnancy fitness. First question I ask them, do you really really love this? Only then get into it. You cannot get into it just because you want to do something. So you need to love the fact that you're going to be supporting pregnant women, you're going to be supporting families. So it has to come from there.
And to kind of wrap this all up, if you had to encapsulate the essence of Sama birthing into a philosophy and not a brand, how you mentioned that it didn't start as a brand, but what is the philosophy and what will continue to be the philosophy no matter where Sama birthing goes?
Um, I feel just to be genuine, to be supporting families, women, being there for them, because it is such a vulnerable phase. The whole pregnancy, body is changing, feeling so emotional. There's a roller coaster going on inside, and even after the baby is born, for the first 1, 2, 3 years, the mother finds it so hard to kind of identify herself to the. It's very very deeply emotional and very women also very like feel they'll be judged if they speak openly, or they still hesitate. So the whole philosophy of Samabati is to be able to feel so comfortable to be able to talk and be part of this community where they can be themselves without feeling anything negative or being feeling like they are being judged. So it's really very simple to be there, hand hold, and to gently tell them that it's okay, you're going to be fine, we'll do this together, let's go one step at a time.
Wow. And there's no better way to wrap this up. Thank you so much, Seema, for all your insights as an educator and as a business owner. Thank you. This has been great.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank you.
having me here.